Hello, I'm Wendy Wilson, and I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Realizing Potential. I am so excited about today's guest. I've known her for about 2 years now, and I've learned so much from her, and I stay in awe over all that she is able to do, and certainly her commitment to the development of HBCUs in the post-secondary education arena and the specific individuals that she serves. But I could go on and on. I would like to introduce to you. I'm just so honored to do so, Miss Pat Rowe. How are you?
I am doing well, and thank you for that. I feel the same way about you. It has
Oh,
been an honor and a blessing to get to know you and to really partner with you in this work that we're doing.
absolutely. It has been continues to be my pleasure. And so, before we start talking about the Strada Initiative and the amazing foundation that supports so many of these brilliant students throughout the post secondary education space, let's learn a little bit more about you, your background, and what brought you to the Strada organization.
Oh, absolutely. So, believe it or not, I have been with Strada Education Foundation now for over 43 years. And actually, it was coming right out of college that I was looking for a career. And when I found this organization, it touched so many aspects of what I needed and what I wanted in terms of, my life work. One thing that I have always enjoyed is being able to build relationships. And so initially, when I started out with Strata, I was in a situation where I could support individuals who were in professional roles and being able to understand where they were in terms of repaying those loans. We're talking about the professional students that were doctors, that were lawyers, that were coming out of their training and really starting to get into their profession. So, what an honor and a privilege to have an opportunity to work with them to understand their situations and to be able to help them to establish a schedule in order to not only allow them to repay, but to build upon their careers simultaneously. And I think this is what really fascinated me about the work that we were doing in this particular nonprofit organization. And from there, this was an organization that really supported access to education for underrepresented groups for many years. And we really did this through our student loan initiative and program that we offered nationally to all students. And that was if you wanted an education and you did not have the means by which to do that, we wanted you to be able to support that education and to get a guaranteed student loan that would help you do that. And that was what the work of what was USA Funds was at the time when I first joined the organization. We actually were that entity that on behalf of that student, that we would provide that collateral, that support for them in order to be able to obtain that loan and to go through school. And once they were complete, what we would do is we would work with them to establish a repayment schedule, and then they would be able to then benefit from the education that they had. From there, I have just been able to benefit from a long-lasting relationship with what was USA Funds, then Strada Education Network at this point. And then I came into the world of philanthropy. I didn't know what philanthropy was outside of my regular tithing to church. But when you have the ability to impact individuals through helping them to gain resources in order to have more experiences that help them to grow their careers, to help them to really be able to support their academics through scholarships, to really be able to support programming that really is designed to work specifically with students, whether that's mentoring, whether that's tutoring, whether that's coaching, in order to help them through and across the finish line and into that world that they so much want to be in and how they want to live their lives. That's really a lot of the work that I've been able to enjoy and do on behalf of not only this organization, but students as a whole.
Well, there's so many. Let's unpack a little bit of what you've said. There's so much to it. All of it, great things. And I'm so glad that you decided that you wanted to continue your role with Strada in the philanthropy sector of this amazing organization. When our president, Dr. Marion Ross Fedrick, approached me about 2.5 years ago and said that this wonderful opportunity had been introduced to Albany State, were we interested in being involved? Of course, she immediately said yes. And Wendy, would you mind? And I was over the moon to happily to accept it. And here's why. When we talk about marginalized and unrepresented communities, one of at the core of that is the economics of it and the ability to afford XYZ, certainly a quality education. And I was just happened to be in a meeting earlier today where we're preparing for the fall semester to begin. And of course, we're already identifying some students, really brilliant students who are just in that window of making the decision as to whether they can come back or not under $500. Under $500 is what's either allowing them going to either stay or have to, take a pause in their matriculation. And so we're working very hard to do that. Now, I'm sure a lot of other institutions do that as well. But it's very sobering to think how many other students have missed out on completing their degree or earning their degrees within the ideal time frame, or didn't earn it at all because they couldn't afford it in general. And then some with just that small gap could not pursue it. So what I love about, again, one of the many things about Strada on the economic side is that you said, here are institutions that are interested in partnering with us. We will take the financial responsibility of supporting your students. You just identify them, have them meet this criteria. And in addition to that, we're going to go beyond and help to create a holistic educational experience for them. So leadership development skill sets, the coaching, the mentoring, the career planning, the financial management, which everybody absolutely needs. And we are going to allow them to just concentrate on the academic piece.
Yeah.
So many students are not afforded that wonderful, wonderful opportunity. And so absolutely, when she said we were going to, partner with you all and you all do the lion's share of the work, it's just, I wish there were many more Stradas in the world to help support deserving students.
And Wendy, thank you for really laying that out in that manner, because one thing over time that I have learned being a part of the philanthropic arena and just this landscape is that when you take that financial burden off of students and more importantly their families, that they can focus in on their academics. And that's really where we need them to be. All the other things that come along with that just, are natural.
Yes.
But being able to alleviate that particular burden is something that I wish others would really think about again. And I think that there were many entities at one point that really did provide scholarship opportunities for students. But part of, I think, what might have been missing is that relationship with the student and that constant communication with that particular funder, with that supporter, that said, this is so important to my ability to be able to remain, that I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being able to help me to be able to help myself, that ultimately has the impact of helping that family. And this is what we recognize, and this is what we really believe in, that once you begin to penetrate that family and that they have that opportunity, that what they're going to do is to grow that experience for those siblings, those cousins, and those other members of the family down the road in order for them to be able to just elevate their family and to be able to live not only their lives, but to enjoy some of the freedoms and the opportunities that come along with education. What we recognize is that those individuals that are most educated are also the ones that are most healthy, because we do a lot of work in terms of our health and wellness. Let's face it, we came out of a rough time that none of us really expected to go through for 2 years with COVID. But now that we're somewhat out of COVID, I want to say completely out of it. But there were the lessons that came out of it. And I think that we have to continue to understand what those lessons are, how we can bring better opportunities and structures to not only our institutional settings, but to build upon what we learned about isolation, to build upon what we have learned about how this impacted our students and their mental health.
Yes.
To learn how to break the barriers of stress related situations also, so that we understand coping skills and we understand what we need to do to keep moving forward. We're always going to have challenges in our life. That's the one thing that I think we can guarantee everyone. There's going to be a challenge out there.
Indeed.
Really, what's most important is how we work through those challenges. And one of the things we're trying to convey to the students is that not only do you need to look at yourself, you are your sister's keeper, you are your brother's keeper. When you see someone else that doesn't appear to be having the day that they should, reach out to them. I think with COVID and the isolation that we experienced there, sometimes it was the mere reaching out to one another that helped to break the silence, that helped to calm you down and to say, you know what, we're all in this together. And that's what I really think about the educational journey. And with these students, we're all in this together. I'm still learning every day from them as well, in terms of the new ways to approach them, the new resources that they need. But you know what? Sometimes it's still very old school, just saying, how are you today? Let's talk a little bit about what might be going on in your life.
Absolutely. See me, and then respond accordingly, just with simple acts of civility and concern. And you're absolutely right. I think we'll be years, if not decades, fully understanding the impact and the ramifications of that 2-year period known as COVID and the isolation piece. We just got back from a cabinet retreat a couple of days ago, and we were, discussing, just we want to be careful about the number of online classes that our students have, because they had that for 2 years. And so then this is across the higher ed spectrum. You're hearing, I'm sure, from colleagues as well, that a lot of our students are just lacking in social engagement skills. Well, that was exacerbated, whatever challenges they may have had in that area, with COVID, and then experiencing anxiety of when they do walk into a classroom, although we want to get them out of that space of everything online. But then when they enter into that classroom, almost, being, arrested or having that fear of walking in, because there are people and they've not had to do that. So having to make that adjustment attached with the whole mental health and wellness piece. And again, that's what I love. And I want to talk about the many institutions that are taking advantage of this great opportunity for their students. But that's one of the things that you were really adamant about, not so much introducing, but normalizing for the students that partake in that these feelings are normal, and we are dealing with high achievers, so they put a little extra stress on themselves. They've got rigorous coursework and the other aspects of it. And, you incorporate that mental health piece in addition
Yeah.
to the financial wellness piece, teaching them that. Again, I'm just amazed at the holistic encompassing that you have created for the Strada Scholars. But tell our viewers a little bit more specifically about the program. How many HBCUs are involved? What are your small expectations of us in the grand scheme of things? Because, we get so much in return.
Absolutely. So just amazing. We were able to bring over a 2 year period 50 institutions on that are all HBCUs, and I'm just totally elated. It was it's a labor of love, in terms of getting to know the institutions and the inner workings of how our institutions really bring about that experience for their students there. But I tell you, the unique way that this was crafted, and I think this is why we're having the success that we are, is that instead of coming to our partner institutions like your own and saying, you know what, we've got the answer to all your issues, and this is what we're going to do, we said, you know what, let's do something a little bit different. Let's ask our presidents and their leadership teams what their needs are. How can we best partner with you? How can we come alongside you in order to not only be a partner, but what are your needs as it relates to leadership development? The only component that we really put on the table was leadership development. And why was that? Because if you look back over the last 3 to 5 years, we've lost so many of our leaders that were beacons in that civil rights movement that really brought us to where they are today, not only African Americans, but across the spectrum of individuals with color. We just have had so many great individuals through natural causes just leave us. And where are we going with regard to our work, with regard to how individuals are prepared for the opportunities that present themselves in the future? We look at how artificial intelligence now is impacting all of us, all of our jobs, our lives, just our everyday thinking across the board. And so these are the types of issues and components that we have come to really think about and to bear, that we want to have this group of individuals that we're going to be able to support in conjunction with our institutions to really know a little bit about prior to they get into the workforce. So when we went through that listening tour, what we heard was, if we're talking about leadership development, this is the group of students that we believe that we will start with. And the reason we would start there is that because they've come to us with a focus, with a direction, with a drive already, to the extent that we can utilize them also as ambassadors, as individuals who want to change the world. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to bring the rest of the students along on campus. And I had one young man from Claflin when I was able to go and visit with them. That was really, and he was a freshman student. I think it was Mr. Freshman, as a matter of fact.
Wow,
He
okay.
said, yeah. He said, the one thing that intrigues me most, Miss Rowe, is the fact that I am in a unique situation where I get to experience and take advantage of what Strada Education Foundation is bringing to us. There are so many other students on this campus that don't know and that don't have that same opportunity. I want to elevate them. I want to lift them up. I want them to be a part. It may not be a part of the Strada initiative, but it can be a part of this world that we are creating and cultivating for students on campus. And when I take that step back and I think about what that young man is saying for that campus, I'm elated to be able to be a part of his life and his growth plan. These students, I call myself, okay, what can I do that will excite them. Okay, I talked about vision boards. They taught me some things about vision boards. Okay. That we just have such amazing conversations, but that holistic approach was really born from individuals like yourself, your president, other presidents that told us not only do our students need support in terms of that financial, but we could utilize support with regard to work-based learning through internships.
Yes.
You know, if we're talking about leadership, yes, we have programs on campus. And what did we say? We said, well, how could we help you enhance what you're already doing? Because you already graduate the majority of professionals that come into the workforce. They said, well, you know, if we had a little money that we could enhance our programs and bring more to bear, that would be helpful as well. No problem. What else could we utilize? And then I said, you know what I've thought about? You could use a little discretionary dollars in order to do what you need to do at the university level so that students, we do have this holistic approach.
Yes.
And so not only there, but there are three other themes that we heard that we have undertaken as well in terms of the work we do. One is continuing to help our students develop in personal branding. How do you present yourself? How are you utilizing those resources, those tools that are out there for you in order to help you present yourself? Like LinkedIn, we have this amazing curriculum that has been created for them on LinkedIn. We talked a little bit about health and wellness and the amazing work that we have a partner that has come in to just connect with our students to help them know you're okay.
Yes.
And to help them to continue to increase just their awareness, first of all, and then to build upon what they can do, but also to know that it's okay to reach out for help and assistance when we're not feeling ourselves. But one other area I was extremely proud of to hear that our leadership wanted us to explore, and that was building generational wealth. And these are topics that, as one student said to us and her, and his president shared with me from Harris-Stowe State University, these aren't conversations we have at the dinner table. I didn't know about insurance. I didn't know about budgeting to the extent that we're going to get into it. I didn't know about how I needed to build this platform in order to really be able to generate wealth long term and in the future. You know, we play a game as we get closer to the students that's about habitudes, their habits, our spending habits. We all have them, believe it or not. I've learned some things over my habitude experience too. So, you know, absolutely. Dr. Wilson, I'm just amazed at not only what we've been able to do, but how our students are taking a hold of it. Yes. And reacting to just all the information we're able to share with them.
Indeed, indeed. Well, as a point of contact for Albany State University, I'm the representative, and then having just been given me the opportunity just to interact with the students on a couple different aspects. I stay in awe over their brilliance, and to hear them individually one-on-one is one thing, but then to collectively bring them all together, which you are about to do in September, is just absolutely breathtaking and so inspiring. And it just gives you so much hope and confidence in terms of what our future looks like. It's a convening of very brilliant minds. You bring the students in, you bring the points of contacts, and you bring the presidents in. And we all sit down and collaborate and continue to learn and develop. And all of those areas that you mentioned, the financial management piece, the branding, the other aspects of leadership development. And again, just to see all of that in one room is just such a very rich experience for not only the students, but those that are responsible for their development and their care. And I really would be remiss. I'm certainly biased when it comes to our Albany State students. But the students that we celebrate all our students in the HBCU community, the Claflin group just when the last and the first the inaugural conference leadership conference that you had, they really raised the bar, and that's saying a lot because everybody was just top notch. But I do, when you acknowledge the young man that spoke, they really are a dynamic team. All of them are. And I only wish that I was as sharp as they were at that age because they really, really are outstanding. But before we wrap up, share with the viewers what this package looks like because you actually pour into these students after we've identified them. And your commitment is not just for one academic year, but their entire matriculation. Speak to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that was the unique opportunity that we had with this initiative. You know, when it was laid before my boss and me, it was an 8-year commitment. And so we knew right then this was something that we could truly show the evidence that with our support, with our resources, and with the talent that's already on campuses and us just coming alongside them, that we had such a unique opportunity to elevate these young people in a way and to give them a competitive edge like no other. But more importantly, to elevate institutions like your own. And you are right, you got some amazing students also that I've had such a pleasure to interact with. I laugh all the time because they keep me in stitches as we have the opportunity to interface with each other. They call me at home. They call me. In fact, you know, I've got several names. I've got Dean Rowe. I've got Mama Pat. I got Auntie Pat. I've got, you know, there's so many terms of endearment that
Absolutely,
students
they are. Yes.
have provided. But I think what really helps also is the fact that not only do we have those resources on the front end, on this back end, we bring all the students, the presidents, and the points of contact to this summit, to this conference at no expense of theirs. We want them to enjoy, we want them to experience, in fact, grow, learn, is the message that we send. Grow, gather, grow, and learn is the message that we send to all of our students that are there. You know, every year we will have the pleasure of bringing on a cohort. So we're getting ready to bring on cohort 3 in the 23-24 academic year, and then in 24-25 for our 4-year institutions. We'll bring on our last cohort. And as you mentioned, we will see these students through to on-time graduation. These are some of the other experiences that we're hoping to help them gain, and that is study abroad opportunities. This year at the summit, we're going to have a group come in that talks about study abroad experiences. I know there are some institutions that actually have this opportunity on campus for their students, and there are some that desire to have that, but there are so many opportunities that are there that will help our students to be able to take advantage of that, either while they're doing their undergraduate, maybe right after they finish their undergraduate experience, or as they move into the graduate work, because that is the expectation, not only that they complete on time, but also that they go on to their master's and their doctorate programs. Dr. Wilson, I would wager this, that more than 3/4 of these students, if not 100%, will have their PhDs before they are 30 years old. And if they go straight through, many of them will have them at 25, 26 years old. And to be able to welcome them into this nation and this platform of careers and experience, to me, is the blessing that we have for our nation with these students. During the course of this 8 years, we will touch over 500 students directly. Now, if we touch 500 students and each student touches a student.
That's powerful. So, Pat, before we close, I really would love for you to kind of go into a little detail about how you all offer this really what is impressively a soup to nuts package. So, not only is it the financial component that you all offer the students, and it expands beyond just 1 year, it is their entire matriculation at their respective institutions. Speak to the thought and the vision behind that.
Absolutely, Dr. Wilson. You know, one of the major components of this was this can't be a one and done or in and out type of situation or relationship. That's not how you build a partnership. And so really for the student and the institution, we wanted to have a long-term, not only relationship, but commitment and committed to the end. So each student, as they come into the opportunity, into the program, we will see them through to graduation, on-time graduation. We not only have 4-year institutions, but we have 2-year institutions. And even for our 2-year institutions, if those students were to choose one of the 4-year HBCUs that we are already working with, I'll bet you will find a little extra money to continue their work as a Strada Scholar. But that's what was important to us, to really show the level of commitment and the duration of this. What I'm pleased with is we will, throughout the 8 years, be able to support over 500 students. And think about that. If we can touch 500 students with this programming, and each of them touch even just one, that's 1,000. And I believe personally that they spread the word very differently, and that there will be thousands of students that will be supported, not only through the work that we're doing with this initiative, but through the efforts that these students will expend. Because the one thing we've shared with them that is our expectation is that they're paving the way for others that are in their field of study. That's what's so important. They are become ambassadors. They become leaders. They become those civil rights activists and individuals that we have seen throughout our life and that have really paved the way for us. You know, our nation deserves these incredibly talented young people, the excellence that they exhibit. And I just want to say this to you. I had the extreme pleasure of going back to look at some of the podcasts that you have already done. There was one element that really struck me and that is relevant for this initiative. And what I've seen is that so many of our students that are being selected are of different groups and come from different communities. Not only are they African American, we've got some Latina students, we've got some Native American students, we've got some Asian students, and we've got some international students. And the one thing that struck me in a recent podcast that you had was the internationalization that you're doing on your campus. And that is so important because any student that we offer an opportunity to on our campus should feel at home. They should feel a part of the family. I want to bring about that component for this initiative, this Strada HBCU initiative for our students as well, because all of them deserve the opportunity to be a part of this growing family of, how can I say this, of these academically talented, intellectual individuals that we are grooming.
There are not enough descriptive words for them. And so thank you for going back and doing some research. That's really important for us here at Albany State University. And I dare not take the credit. I enjoy using this medium to educate the world what we do. But yes, the internationalization piece is absolutely integral to what we do here. And we understand that in order to compete, we need to expose our students. They need to be educated from a global perspective and lens in preparation to make a global impact and have a footprint wherever it is that they decide to go or wherever their professions take them. So thank you for bringing that point up. Before we close, as I started off, have just been and have such great admiration, and our professional relationship has certainly grown. And I sit back and I'm taking copious notes when I see you interacting with the students and with the points of contacts and with the presidents. You have a huge portfolio in terms of knowledge and capabilities. And I whispered in your ear at the last conference afterwards, I knew you were exhausted because of just the magnitude. It was a behemoth venture, but it went off flawlessly. And I whispered that in your ear, and you gave me this look like, yeah, we had a little things behind the scene that we needed to tweak. But that was just the success of the effort in that it was not seen from the participant, the point of contact, the students. It just, went off, in my opinion, and the opinion of so many others, without a hitch. It was just, as I said earlier, so rich. But I think that's a testament to you and the body of work and that you bring to the table on a daily basis. But before we wrap up this final time, this is the last question. And this is, you mentioned, civil rights icons and global figures that we know our students, the Strada scholars, will then walk in their footsteps. And I think you told me you enjoyed cooking at one time, I'm not sure. So if you had an opportunity to invite 3 international figures to your lovely home and prepare a lovely meal for them, who would those individuals be and why would you select them?
That's a great question.
And they can be living or, have made their transition.
I think of people like Nelson Mandela. I think of individuals like, I think of all the individuals that I've had the extreme pleasure in our institutions to be able to be a part of and to hear them to speak. I think of individuals that I recently came to partake in an experience about a nonprofit group that's working internationally in order to help us to not only bridge the gap, but to also think about the differences in our culture and the ways in which we can support young women and young men, but very important young women.
Sure.
Because of just some of the resources that they don't have,
yes,
that are very basic in nature, that to help them to, one, be able to continue school in order to be, and I'm talking about their menstrual cycles. I'm talking about the very basics when they are ill and they just can't move because they don't have those resources.
yes.
Those are the types of entities that I think of, and the individuals that are working in those arenas to help us to help each other. And this is where I believe we also have such a tremendous opportunity with our students, and especially those that are coming to the States to learn more about resource generation, how to cultivate opportunities for more individuals to be provided education so that they can live productive lives as well. So it may not be as much in terms of individuals as it is in the movement that helps us to become one.
Well, that's a remarkable answer. I expected nothing else than what you provided. And in my head, I said, now this dinner has morphed from an intimate dinner at her home to something that's in a stadium size event because of the people that you were inviting. But it certainly is another indication of just how broadly you think, but you're still able to capture the mission so that it has a individual impact, and that it also impacts thousands. And so that takes a very brilliant mind to be able to do that. So I wish that we could only have Nelson Mandela back, because I would invite myself. Pat, what you need me to dish out, or to help serve something? I got that part. But I cannot thank you enough. You and I have discussed, again, on numerous occasions, that this is not an easy undertaking, only because of the amount of resources that are needed to execute. And again, the vision is so broad and yet so impacting. And you have just, drawn a line in the sand and said that, along with your team and your colleagues, that this can be nothing short of a success. And you are certainly have exceeded that just in the small time frame that you have been pouring into these students. So I wish you continued success. I look forward to seeing you in Atlanta in September, and as you convene these amazing minds. But thank you again on behalf of Dr. Marion Ross Frederick, our Strada scholars here, and the HBCU community that is a part of this amazing initiative, for all that you do and your investment into our students.
Thank you. The pleasure was indeed mine, and have an amazing day.
You as well. Viewers, thank you so much for joining me for this edition of Realizing Potential. I'm Wendy Wilson, and I look forward to seeing you next time.
Bye.